It is time for another viewer match, and what I got for you today is a high level, a Master 1 Zerg versus Zerg. Spawning here in the bottom right hand corner of Abyssal Reef LE and playing with the red Zerg drones, we have none other than Drone Rush. And his opponent spawning in a cross position, also playing with the drones, but these are blue. He goes by the nickname of Demaxo. Or D-Maxo? I think I'm gonna go with Demaxo. Regardless though, Mr. Drone Rush, as you may have already noticed, is indeed playing with that Lowko clan tag. Now, of course, the Lowko clan is indeed one of the Patreon rewards, and as a matter of fact, Drone Rush has been a top tier Patreon supporter for, I would say, probably about like 8 to 9 months or so. It's been quite some time already, and one of the rewards that he gets once a month as well is that I am doing direct one-on-one coaching with this guy right here. Now, for the very first time this season, Drone Rush managed to break into Grandmaster League, which first off means that he slightly surpassed me right now in MMR, which obviously is pretty cool as well, but it's also, you know, obviously a matter of fact right now that he has indeed made his way to the highest league in StarCraft 2, which for someone that does coaching a lot like myself, it's one of the most exciting moments whenever I see people going up in skill level, in particular when they make their way to GM. Regardless though, Drone Rush has, by the way, since dropped out of it once again, just because of the fact that the MMR and Grandmaster does continuously go up throughout the season, and it's really hard to maintain that, but he's been there once. I've got full trust in it that he's gonna be able to, you know, get in there once again in the future. Regardless though, he's played this Zerg versus Zerg, and he sent me a message afterwards saying that it may very well be the most epic game of ZVZ that he has ever played. So I'm excited for it. He sent me many of losses as well in the past, so, you know, obviously some people may necessarily only give me their wins. I am really excited to see where this one will go, because while we do see a little bit of a change right here in build order from both of these players, all things considered, this is looking pretty standard. Drone Rush so far opting to leave his drones in the gas, whereas we did see a much earlier spawning pool right here for the Maxo, and that of course means that he will have his link speed out right around the same time, however, because he still followed it up with an expansion. Zerg vs Zerg is kind of funny because there's a lot of different ways that lead to the exact same mid-game. Some people like to go for a pool first, some people like to go for a hatch first, some people go for a really quick third hatchery after putting the drones out of gas when they get their metabolic boost upgrade going. It's kind of a mix and match of whatever you prefer, and it really doesn't matter all too much, because like I mentioned, most of the mid-game will look pretty similar if neither player ends up cheesing in the earlier part of the game. Bailing nests are now going down here as well, actually, for both players. We do now finally see a big group of Zerglings here for the player in blue, so the Maxo is indeed planning on, at the very least, dealing a little bit of damage. Drone Rush actually now manages to get into the main as well of his opponent. He will be able to confirm that there is no Evo chamber anywhere, so that means that he doesn't have to be very worried about a hyper-aggressive all-in. But right now, he should also be aware of the fact that there are indeed a lot of links moving across the map, and indeed, the defensive Bane links immediately do get morphed. On the back of this, though, the Maxo is already following this up with a ton of drones as well. I really like this play, making sure that he's not going to be taking any kind of significant losses here, just because this obviously could go bad really very quickly. Gotta be careful though, of course. Those Banelings are gonna be capable of cleaning up that army in just a matter of seconds, but for some reason the Maxo was feeling a little bit worried, and instead of microing there, he decides to pull back and just simply morph in a couple of his own Banelings right here as well. Drone Rush right now knows exactly what's going on, kind of missing that Overlord vision over here. That does make it difficult to tell exactly what's up. Good micro so far though, manages to deal with his early game pressure decently well, but the Links and the Banes are now engaging against each other. One more Bane right there does indeed finish up all the last of the morphing Banelings as well, and all of a sudden, Drone Rush is in a little bit of trouble. Spinecrawler coming in as well, Links now flooding into the main base. Queen in a nice position here, but the drones are already being target fired too. While this is all going on though, a third base has now been taken, no third to be seen for the Maxo just yet, and I think all things considered, while this is a little bit of a back and forth, the Maxo is significantly ahead right now in the earlier part of the game. Whenever you're watching a Zerg vs Zerg, pay attention to the worker count. Look at that, 22 drones here for the player in red versus 37 here for the Maxo. Now, of course, part of that is indeed the pressure that he was putting on. Part of that is also the lack of a third, and Drone Rush is indeed going to follow this up with a ton of workers of his own. But there is no denying right now that the player in blue is going to be ahead when it comes to economy. And I actually quite like the setup here for the Maxo. Abyssal Reef is one of the few maps where you can indeed create a bit of a wall right there. Apparently that one Zergling was apparently slippery enough to make its way past that queen, but this is one of the maps where you can sometimes go ahead and delay that third. I like this decision though. Drone Rush not really pushing here across the map, instead sitting back, going for his own Evo chamber and playing his own standard game. And this is something that I've personally been hammering on a ton. And I really like seeing this as well when I'm casting these kind of games. Whenever you get flustered in the earlier part of a match and it doesn't really work out the way you had it intended and your opponent throws you off your plan, try and get back to what you had planned earlier. It's pretty much always going to be the correct choice unless you are significantly behind. Now, apparently these drones, though, feeling merciful. They are currently on hold position and eventually they will be forced away there. But they have successfully delayed that third base from going up for quite some time. And indeed, the drone does end up falling there just barely in the nick of time. Now, while we see both of the players now transitioning towards a bit more of a macro game, the Maxo going for that Spire after the Roach Warren and Drone Rush sticking to the Roaches and the +1 missile here for now. If you've got a crazy game yourself as well, right? Say you're playing the ladder right now and you found yourself with an absolutely awesome match. You can always go ahead and submit it to replays at LowkoTV. Nuke and Motlysis are actually the ones that have been going through as many of those games as possible, selecting the best games for me to go ahead and cast. So if you've got an awesome match, definitely don't be afraid to submit it, because we're always looking for the best to go ahead and cover right here on the channel as well. Drone Rush right now, though, does have that third base up and running. Spire is coming in, and this is completely unscouted here for now. Pretty standard setup, though, for Zerg versus Zerg. While the Maxo was indeed ahead in economy here on 2 bases, eventually now with that super late third base, Drone Rush has taken over that lead as he is currently at 56 Harvesters while he's pushing out more and more Roaches. However, the Maxo is not done just yet. This is mostly unscouted, I think, at this point in time. Drone Rush, however, was already making non-stop units, and while there is definitely a lack of Overlord vision here in the top right-hand corner of the map, which is apparent right here with this utter darkness, making it difficult for these units to get scouted, slowly Drone Rush will figure out exactly what it is he's going up against. So luckily for him, he was planning to go for a push, I think, here, with Glial Reconstitution here anyway. The Roach Speed upgrade will be finishing up shortly. The Maxo, however, while he was doing that, look at that, it was just a little bit of posturing, and I actually really like that move. He just simply pushed across the map, showed all of his Roaches, then he was like, okay, I'm gonna go back home, because he's been droning up this third for a while, and he's now also going for the Mutalisk. Switching into that Infestation Pit will allow him to go for Infestors. He can go ahead and make Swarm Host if he's feeling really ballsy, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's planning to maybe go for a really quick Hive. And if that is the case, I would love to see him take a quick 4th as well. The nice thing, of course, about Mutas is that you get map control. It's really important for your opponent to not lose any drones to these Mutalisks, but the Mutas definitely do give you a lot of time to just do whatever it is that you would like to. Hydro Den now coming in here for Drone Rush, and indeed, we do see an 8-minute Hive. This is... wait, was that barely scouted there? I think that may have just barely been scouted there. Great move by Drone Rush, figuring out exactly what it is he's going up against. But right now, the Roach Ravager Ball as well as the Mutas have arrived here in the back of the natural, and it does mean that the Maxo is going to try and deal some damage. Roach Warren does get sniped. That will make it so that Drone Rush won't be able to go for an easy counterattack. But so far, no critical amount of workers have really gone down here at this point in the game. Drone Rush, however, was forced to make a lot of buildings, and economically speaking right now, he doesn't have a ton of workers. Look at all of these spores, right? It's very easy to look at this and be like, hey, it's only 75 minerals for a spore, right? But you gotta calculate in the cost of that worker as well. The worker is definitely something to keep in mind here too, because while he was significantly ahead in workers earlier, the Maxo once again has picked up that lead. Hive is just about to finish up. Spire is already done, and actually we see now Corruptors coming in here too. Really well done actually by the player in blue, significantly ahead right now when it comes to the supply counts. He's still flying around the map trying to figure out exactly what it is he is going up against, because so far Drone Rush hasn't really shown him a whole lot. I mean, he's got map control, he knows that he dealt damage to the majority of the units here. Great Aspire is now coming in here as well for the Maxo, but will this be scouted? Drone Rush is currently moving into the main base. Corruptor's feeling merciful, and that does mean that this Greater Spire gets scouted. Beautiful little moment there, because this allows Drone Rush to respond to this kind of shenanigans in time. Apparently, he's gonna go for the Hydra play. He's also getting himself the +2 missile, which is rather important, but no 4th base just yet. And I think that this would be something that he could definitely go ahead and take, now that there are indeed a couple of units out to already start shooting up. I mean, there's 9 Hydras, definitely more than enough to deal some damage here to those Mutas if they were to try to deny that 4th. As a matter of fact, actually, I would like to see both players have their 4th up and running already. We see additional drones now coming in for Drone Rush. 11 more right there on the production tab for just a little while. So he is going to continue mining here, but I would love to see the base taken either over here or right over here on the low ground. It just makes such a big difference. Judging though by the speed of which these roaches are moving, there is no Glio reconstitution just yet. That means that the Maxo is just gonna try and simply spend as much money here as he possibly can on getting himself out these Brood Lords. And the Brood Lords are now already moving in, or morphing in rather. And of course, having those Mutas out allows the player in blue to just simply be completely unaware of this. But look at that, a single changeling may very well turn the tide of this battle. Roaches and Ravagers are now moving in. They're corrosive, biling all of these morphing in Brood Lord cocoons, and all of a sudden Drone Rush is all over this army composition. Still a lot of Corruptors in the air. That could have really gone south if Drone Rush did not catch exactly what was going on there, but there is still so much here left over for the player in blue. Following this up with a ton of Zerglings, still cleaning up the majority of this army right here from his opponent. And while the Corruptors are currently not doing a whole lot, and it does look like the Maxo will be forced back home, Drone Rush wins that engagement just barely. Having that single changeling there, though, changed the tide of that battle. These Overseers, and actually it may have gone down since, the Overseers have been extremely helpful throughout this game so far, just because they have indeed given Drone Rush so much information. He is now moving across the map though. He's got a lot of Hydralisk here with that new Hydra skin. They're gonna be able to deal a little bit of damage, but Brood Lords are just about to finish up, and they do morph in rather quickly. Gotta be very careful. If you want to commit to this, it's important to go ahead and do so right now, because once these Mutas, or rather once these Brood Lords do end up finishing, all of a sudden you're gonna have to deal with a lot of these Broodlings as well. Look at the amount of carcasses currently floating to the surface of the Abyssal Reef, and Drone Rush is pouncing on this opportunity to potentially close out the game right here, right now. And while he is indeed target firing down the Brood Lord successfully, I think that there may just simply be a little bit too much here for the player in blue, and I think that Drone Rush will be deflected once again, but maybe he's gonna be able to deal a little bit more damage. Spire now also coming in here on the other side of the map. No hive to be seen anywhere just yet for Drone Rush. And while this is all going on, right, and both of the players indeed took heavy amounts of losses, the game is actually pretty even. As a matter of fact, the Maxo is still slightly ahead, but worker-wise, the game is still mostly even, and apparently the Maxo is feeling confident enough to make a bit of a move across the map once again. And I actually do quite like this decision here of him, although he does need to be careful. If the Hydras manage to get underneath a handful of brutes, they will just simply end up killing everything in just a matter of seconds. There's a Nidus network coming in. Okay, Drone Rush is gonna try and probably go for a counterattack here, but he's gonna go up against a ton of brutes. I mean, already at this point in the game, there's a couple of them out. There's 3 more joining in just a second, bringing the total up to 6 brutes. And 6 Brood Lords, while it doesn't look like a lot, it's actually a very menacing force just because of the amount of range they have. There's not really anything in the game that can easily match it, other than, of course, the Tempest and the Thor, but those are not part of the Zerg versus Zerg matchup. Corruptors now still available as well. I think these will be important, but here we go. Zerg is going to try and pounce on top of it. Apparently that means, though, that we will see the Maxo now forced to micro back with some of his ground units as well. Drone Rush trying his very best to make the most out of this situation, but so far not really getting the value. One of the brutes, however, now in range of the targeting here as well. The Maxo smartly putting those on hold position, but here we go. He's now also morphing in the last of his Corruptors into Brood Lords upon not seeing any of his opponent's Corruptors just yet. Speaking of which, though, we do see some on that production tab right now here for Drone Rush. There are no Hydralisk available for the Maxo, so I think that Drone Rush may very well be able to hold on here eventually. Hydras are going to be able to pounce on this opportunity as well, but so many of the Brood Lords remain, and 3 more are currently joining in. This Corruptor can actually be the one that changes the outcome of this game. Corruptors deal a lot of damage and they're capable of changing the tide of a battle very rapidly. Drone Rush still has a lot of damage output on a lot of those units, and one of the Brood Lords does end up dying. Hydras are trying to push forward right now as well. Gonna go after all of those Brood Lords, trying their very best though to not overextend so they would die to the roaches and all of the broodlings as well. And while one of those Brood Lords apparently is currently still throwing its little lings there at the mineral line, I think that eventually, right, Droner should be able to hold on. More Corruptors are joining in, and I think that does mean that the Maxo is gonna be able to potentially overwhelm the ground force while all of his air units end up falling. The Maxon are currently heading into that main base as well. Nidus network is still up and running, but it's not being used just yet. A lot of these units now currently absolutely pointless though, as the Maxo is currently switching back towards a fully ground-based army. Fort bases are now up and running here for both of these players, but I think that the player in blue just barely overextended. I'm actually quite surprised that throughout all of this, the Maxo has not spent the 100 minerals and 100 gas to get himself the Glio Reconstitution upgrade. Upgrade-wise, right? And this is one of the big things in Zerg vs. Zerg. You need to make sure you keep on pushing these upgrades. It's currently +2, +1 here for Drone Rush. That means that currently he's gonna go up against a Zerg that is not got any upgrades other than, of course, the Metabolic Boost upgrade. Corruptors now even taking a piss right here on that hatchery. That will indeed start dealing a lot of damage. Look at that. If a couple of seconds go by, the damage like quadruples in just a matter of seconds. And apparently that means that this fourth base will end up dying here as well. Corruptors, however, still up in the air. There's no counter for those just yet. Hydra's now coming out as well in big numbers here for the Maxo, and he's gonna try and push forward here, trying to land all of those biles as well is Drone Rush. Question is there going to be enough here for the player in blue to deflect this massive force? And I think that with all of these Hydras just simply caught off guard, Drone Rush eventually obtains the victory in a very, very close and well-fought battle. That was awesome. That was actually a really, really nice game. I wonder though if both of the players should have just taken their forts a little bit earlier, because I think if the Maxo did so and he followed it up with a lot more drones as well, just to saturate that instead of trying to go for the throat. And I understand the feeling, right? When you notice you're really far ahead and you want to win and obtain the victory right then and there, oftentimes it's better to just simply sit back and macro it up, because he moved across the map, right, with like 3 Brood Lords alive and a bunch of roaches and hydras. There was a chance that he could clean up the game right then and there, but I feel like it was a little bit of a risk. Well played though by both players. I hope you enjoyed watching this match. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down below, and if you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get a notification as soon as I upload more. Other than that, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, alright? And I will see you in the next one.